This is a BBC podcast. You can get all our podcasts and our terms of use at bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.
Hello, welcome to World Football on BBC World Service. I'm Alan Green. On this week's programme, another scandal. Bologna are going through presidents faster than Real Madrid go through managers. We ask why the Italian club has had 5 in the last year. And Vice President of Liquor, Philip Schmidt. We'll keep you up to date with the outcome of the investigation here on BBC World Service. But let's turn our attention now to Italy. Not to AC Milan's imminent return as champions after a 5-year absence, but the much less fashionable story of Bologna, a club not exactly famous for its achievements on the pitch, but one that's quickly becoming infamous for its turnover in the boardroom. Bologna has gone through 5 club presidents in less than a year, the latest of whom, Albano Guaraldi, took charge in April. Despite lying towards the bottom of the table, the club is all but guaranteed a place in Serie A next season. The question is, will their latest president still be there to guide them? Emma Wallace reports.
Bologna FC's website has managed to update who the latest president is, but in its history section it stops at 2 presidents prior to Mr Guaraldi. To misquote the Irish dramatist Oscar Wilde, to lose 1 president may be regarded as misfortune, to lose 5 in 10 months looks like carelessness. Francesco Intorcia is a sports journalist for La Repubblica newspaper in Bologna. He's been following the rapid changes at close hand and explains what's been going on.
Bologna
started this season with many problems which had been accumulating for a few years, including relegation to Serie B, several changes of coach, and debts of almost $70 million. So, former owners, the Megnarini family, tried to find a buyer and eventually sold 80% to the Sardinian Sergio Porchetta. But his financial support didn't last, and with the club in crisis again, a group of shareholders based in Bologna completed a takeover last December. They briefly put the owner of the Segafredo coffee empire, Massimo Zanetti, in charge. But despite putting in $6 million, he resigned after a month. So Marco Pavignani took over, and less than 3 months later, the consortium tried again with our 5th and current president of the season, Albano Guaraldi. In addition to these 5, we have also an honorary president in the Italian singer Gianni Morandi and a former president who almost came back. So instead of 5 in 10 months, it's actually 5 plus 1 honorary president and 1 nearly president.
In a recent press conference, the latest president, Albano Guaraldi, a property developer and Bologna fan, gave little away about his vision for the club, except that he will try to make it self-sufficient, partly through many rich investors. Bologna is a relatively wealthy city in a region of Italy which boasts some of the country's favourite food exports, from Parma ham to Parmesan cheese. But the money swirling around these parts hasn't gone into Bologna Calcio until now. Perhaps because it's difficult to make a profit from football. But in an exclusive interview with the BBC, Albano Guaraldi told me that is not their incentive.
It should be possible to make money, but that's not what we're about. We'll have to become stable gradually. We're thinking of a model along the lines of Barcelona, although with a few differences. We want fan groups to buy shares, and we'd like to get more out of the stadium, like English clubs do. But our main objective is to try and grow our youth squads so we can sell young, talented players and make money. This would be an excellent resource and would get people back to the true spirit of football at a local level. I don't understand why so few champions are being produced in Italy. It used to be an excellent footballing nation.
Bologna Calcio might not be Real Madrid or Manchester United, but the club has won 14 trophies, including 7 Scudetti or league titles. Vittorio Zerbini is a blogger on one of the club's fan sites who remembers the glory days and hopes Bologna can overcome its recent problems.
In the 1950s and 60s, the stadium was always full and held nearly 40,000 people back then. But because of television, it's hardly ever full. I've been going since 1946 when I was 8 years old and remember the great times when we won so many Scudetti and could compete with Milan and Torino. After the war, when clubs needed more money to survive, we simply couldn't keep up. But today, Bologna is a very rich city, so there should be lots of potential for the team to grow again. I'm not talking about the money that Mr. Moratti at Inter or the Agnelli family have at Juventus in Turin, but we've definitely got potential, and hopefully they can keep us in Serie A.
So how will Albano Guaraldi compare with some of the more famous owners of the big Italian clubs? And what do the fans think of so many changes in the boardroom? Paolo Alberti is the president of the fanatical Ultras supporters group in the Bologna Curva, and he says they'll give the new man a chance.
We've been through a pretty dramatic time, so it's quite fun, and at least we never get bored. We take everything in the Bolognese spirit and are used to judging people on their actions, so we're waiting to see what Mr. Guaraldi does. The Ultras didn't have a good relationship with the previous owners, the Manarini family, and tend to blame them for everything. We'll help by following the team at home and away, but we're not going to put money into this salvage fund directly, because we want to remain independent and be free to complain if something goes wrong.
We're still waiting to hear exactly what plans President Guaraldi has for Bologna, but Francesco Indorcia says serious financial commitments lie ahead for the club if they're to have a chance of reaching the glory days of the 1930s.
Il Bologna in questo momento è in difficoltà.
Bologna is still in trouble and still in debt. It's making a loss of almost $2 million every month. The owners need to get more money from season tickets, marketing and a better stadium. The last time it was updated was for the 1990 World Cup, and Bologna can no longer host international matches. And the wage bill is too high. They're spending $34 million a year, so that needs to be addressed.
Emma Wallace reporting from Bologna. I'm Alan Green and this is World Football on BBC World Service.